Good morning, everyone. We are so excited to see that so many of you have joined us for this web presentation. I hope you enjoyed my playlist this morning. Thought I'd give you something to listen to while you were waiting. We are so excited that there has been such a big interest in our webinar titled Best Practices for Reading Intervention in the Virtual Classroom. My name's Erica Huff, and I'm the Marketing, Event, and Social Media Manager for Reading Horizons. What a crazy couple of weeks it has been, especially for you educators. We see you working tirelessly to reach out and support your students. We've been amazed at the feedback we've received over this topic, and we hope we can provide you with some valuable information as we navigate through this virtual landscape together. Because we're all learning together, we want to hear from you throughout the presentation. There will be parts in the presentation that we ask for your feedback, either through a chat box or a Q&A, which is located at the bottom center of your Zoom screen. We hope to compile your feedback that you give to us through chat and get that feedback out to you. Also, this webinar will be recorded, and you will get a link to view it later and to share with some of your educator friends. So I am thrilled to announce our speaker, Chantel Barrett Blake. Chantel has a bachelor's in English teaching and a master's in education with reading science and a concentration with a dyslexia certification. She has both basic and advanced training and certification in Orton Gillingham from her International Dyslexia Association accredited graduate program. Chantel is the mother of 3 children, one of whom has dyslexia and dysgraphia, which was the catalyst for her graduate work and professional path. Chantel was an English teacher for 3 years, a tutor in reading and English for 15 years, and a dyslexia tutor for 10 years. Chantel is currently the lead professional development and dyslexia specialist for Reading Horizons. She is a reading and dyslexia consultant for schools across the nation, and she's passionate about raising awareness about the importance of effective reading instruction for every student. And with that, we turn the time over to Chantel Barrett.
Thanks, Erica. I am grateful to be here with you today. It's definitely under different circumstances than most of us would like, but I do believe it's an opportunity that as we learn these new approaches and ways to reach our students from any circumstance, it can benefit us far more than just in this time right now. And that's what our purpose and goal is for today, is that we want to provide information and resources to help you facilitate evidence-based reading instruction virtually. We're talking about virtual instruction, or this new virtual classroom that we're navigating. There's lots of ways that that can happen. That can happen live, where we're doing a live lesson and interacting with the students in real time. We can do pre-recorded lessons and interaction and send that to the students to work on and be able to gather that data, respond accordingly at that time or later. And there can be online software where we're letting students work on that independently, but we're taking that data and using that. So what we want to do now is we want to actually get your take on what your virtual classroom is looking like right now. Just go ahead and click on there to vote whether you're doing live instruction more, where you're doing recorded and sending it, online software, or a combination of those. We're going to give you just a minute to put that in, and then we'll share those results with everybody. My guess is what we've had feedback from educators so far is it's usually a combination of those options, and it's looking like we're landing there as well. Yeah, that's definitely the trend. Looking like live is probably the thing we're doing least. There's can be a lot of challenges with that. Recorded softwares more so. Good. Okay, so we're going to share those responses now. Yeah, it looks like that winner is a combination of. And I'm going to share some of that with you today, some combinations. We're going to talk about how, as the resource, providing a variety of ways to gather this information is going to be really helpful for our students as well. I know some of this is just sheer like reaction. We had to turn this around in a week, and so we're doing what's at our fingertips. And so now it's time to take a little bit of a pause and look at, okay, so how is this working? What are we doing? How can we adjust this moving forward as things kind of settle in this for a little bit longer? Here in Utah, where I'm at, our schools are out till May 1st, probably longer. And so it's not going to be just a quick turnaround. This is going to be something we're going to experience for a while. So my objectives today, what we want to share with you, I have 3 main objectives. The first one, I want to share 4 general tips, just general tips for the successful virtual classroom. Then I want to dive down a little bit more into effective virtual reading instruction specifically and provide some evidence-based guidelines there. And then finally, I want to share and do a walkthrough of resources that we as Reading Horizons are offering at this time to help support you in the amazing work that you're doing and turning this around for your students, as Erica said, as we navigate this new terrain together. So tip number 1, set clear expectations. So expectations with teachers. So if we're an administrator, what are our expectations for our teachers during this time? As a teacher, our expectations for ourselves and for our students and for our parents. And how do we relay that clearly? So I want to break this down, this tip, just a little bit. So first, one of the things that those in the virtual arena who just live in here, this is what they do. One of the things that what they've shown is kind of a big problem for those of us in the professional arena when we try to go from in-person instruction to virtual, that we try to just translate that 100% so that it's the same. And it's not the same. There's going to be some different things that we need to do to get across the same information or that feedback from students. So we have to think outside of the classroom box. It's not going to look 100% exactly the same as what's happening in the classroom. One of the things that we can do in that time is take an inventory. It's kind of how we start is, okay, so what do we have currently that we've been using in our classroom that can be repurposed in the virtual setting? And then beyond that, what do we have to create? Like, what we have currently in our classroom not able to translate in the virtual setting? And again, I know we've been more of this immediate response right now, but it's a good time to start taking inventory and saying, can we do this if we need to now, long term, or again, if this shows up, we have to take what we have and put that into a virtual setting. And so that's going to be really important. The other thing too to talk about is it can be difficult for engagement as well. And we're going to dive into that as another tip. One of the things to be mindful of too with setting these clear expectations is recognizing when we're approaching this new area that we make it as simple as possible for those that are involved. So when we're using an overly complex platform, as teachers, that's going to be really overwhelming for us to set up our lessons, our instruction. If it's overly complex for parents, that's going to be overwhelming. They're just going to shut down. For students, again, overly complex, they're going to shut down. Actually, one of the topics that was most fascinating for me in my graduate work is the correlation between motivation and reading outcomes. It is so highly correlated. And specifically, that's what I did my thesis on. And the information and what I learned in that process and in that research, it relates to success in general, not just reading success. One of the most highly correlated dimensions of motivation is the undermining motivation of perceived difficulty. When something feels overly complex and we don't have the self-efficacy based on skills to be able to handle that complexity in front of us, we're just going to be demotivated and we're going to shut down. And so it's important to make sure and analyze what platforms are we using, how easy is this for our teachers, for me to use as the teacher, for our students, for our parents, for them to be able to maintain motivation and reach those expectations that we have and manage those expectations. Those expectations also need to be realistic at this time, and that can change as we move forward, but to show up with a lot of grace in this time too as we navigate this. Things are not going to go perfectly. There's a quote that says, perfect is the enemy of good. So what we're doing is good to get that instruction to our students. We can't get hung up right now on it being perfect. We've all dealt with that here at Reading Horizons. As we talk to educators, that's the big fear. It's not perfect. I don't have things the way that I want right now. But right now, getting that information and doing it in a simple way is powerful. So then give more options. In this setting especially, we want to provide as many options as possible to gather that information. So all of us, we know, have preferences in our learning. And the danger in a virtual setting is that we do one thing because we're having to create so much in a short amount of time that we just do the same thing over and over again. And hopefully with time, we can bring in more variety, more options for us to be able to share that content. If you're an elementary teacher, think centers. That's the purpose of centers, is a variety of options, getting to move between those tables, activities, those that are guided, those that are not, those that are more independent, those that are partner work. And those are all still things that we can do in a virtual setting. And I'm going to model some of that as we move through. The fourth part of this tip, be willing to adapt. So if what we're doing doesn't work and students don't respond to it, be willing to say, okay, this didn't work. I'm going to go ahead and revisit this and rework this and try something different. If sometimes it's easy for us to just hang on to something and not want to let it go because it's harder to have to change and do it again. But that's important that we're adaptive right now and responsive to how our parents are responding, our students are responding, and adjust accordingly. Be willing to do that. The last one, consistent communication. This is critical, especially during this time. We all feel this, right? Thankfully, in a digital world, we feel connected and yet still isolated. I mean, this was an issue before this all happened, is that we live our world through a virtual end, which keeps us connected, but in a weird way, isolated. And so that consistent communication, let them hear your voice. That's going to be important to maintain that normalcy, that connection during this time with our students. I was speaking with a colleague of mine here at Reading Horizons. He's a school psychologist. He's taught virtually in a few different settings for a few years. And we were having a conversation about this. And he said this was one of the most critical things that he did when he was teaching virtually. They had what they called the number 3 rule, that there was an expectation set up that students would engage every day with what they were putting out, whether that was assignments or a webinar, they were jumping on live, or they were sending out pre-recorded information, that if they hadn't engaged by the third assignment, activity, webinar, that they would give them a phone call and just check in. How are you doing? It's not about judgment or getting them in trouble. But it's about, hey, are you okay? Because usually if they're not showing up, if they're not able to engage, there's a reason. So what is that? Is there a roadblock? Is there some concern there? How can I help you? And that's critical. He talked about how that was even such an amazing opportune time for students who were usually really problematic in the classroom, that he was able to connect and create some really deep relationships and build that rapport with students. And you think about the opportunity to have some of that one-on-one time, through that communication, through a phone call, through a Zoom meeting, whatever that looks like, that can be really powerful at this time. So we want to set these expectations up front. It's not going to be the exact same as in a virtual classroom. We want to keep our expectations manageable and make sure that what we're doing allows students to meet our expectations, and making sure that the platforms we're using are user-friendly. Providing lots of options so that they can meet those expectations with a variety of choices and not just have to fund one direction, especially for students who struggle. I know my son in particular, he really needs to have a lot of options. And then be willing to adapt if things are not working, to readjust and make sure we're keeping that clear and consistent communication with our students. So tip 2, set challenging but attainable goals. This is an interesting time where we can get mired in just the day-to-day immediate response right now, and that can really drop students' motivation to engage. I want you to take a minute right now and just think about what your goals are right now for your virtual instruction. And I want you to go ahead and put that in the chat box or the Q&A. As Erica mentioned, we're going to compile that and share that with you. What are some of the goals that you have right now for your virtual instruction, for your school if you're an administrator, for your students if you're a teacher? What does that look like? Go ahead and put those in while I talk a little bit more about setting attainable goals. That's important for us to keep the vision, again, because we can get mired in just this, I've got to do this task and this task and this task. And especially in a virtual setting, it becomes check this off your list, check this off your list. And we need to be able to pull that, what we call zoom out, to get to the bigger picture. What's interesting is I was talking again with some colleagues here. So when we're going back to motivation, one of the things that's highly correlated, one of those dimensions of motivation, is purpose or value. We're going to be engaged with something if it has value to us, if we find purpose in it. If not, we're going to disengage. What happens when we get too much of a microscopic view and we're just going from assignment to assignment and we forget that bigger picture is that we forget why we're doing this. And when it's just mundane and there's all these distractions at home, it's going to be very easy to click off that computer and walk away. We have to be very intentional right now of all times about getting to the bigger why. Why are we doing this? And talking to our students, because as I was talking to my colleague, what's interesting is a lot of schools are saying no more end of the year testing. For some students, if that's their motivation, if that's their purpose, then why am I doing this? Why do I even engage in this? Is this credit going to count? What does that look like? So it's about what we call zooming out. So this is a strategy in goal setting that I'm going to share with you. There's a couple powerful key phrases that can help us shift our perspective in an instant. And that's going to be really important during this time. So we're talking about zooming out. We get too mired in the day-to-day stuff and we forget why we're doing this. We ask, for what purpose? What purpose am I doing this? And so to ask the students, what is your purpose in doing this? Is it so that you can go to next year and have that information and not have to repeat this instruction? Is it so long-term? What's your long-term goal? You want to be able, for our high school students, to get a job. What does that look like? Being able to read at the basic level to get that job. So remember, that's our purpose. We're still trying to get that information to you, so that you can reach those ultimate goals that you have. So even as teachers, when we're planning our lessons, sometimes right now, here's the content, keep my students busy, keep my students busy. But we want to zoom out and look at the bigger picture and say, for what purpose is this assignment? For what purpose am I doing this? That's a key word to just key phrase to really pull out that perspective and say, why am I doing this? Now, how we want to zoom in is we say, how specifically am I going to do this? So this helps us, okay, so if this is our end goal, if this is what we're working towards to make sure this and this happens for our students, then how specifically am I going to do that? And when we get specific, just that statement, we can start to make those details clear about how we're going to get our students to that ultimate goal. And we need to have this communication with them, not just have it in our mind, but talk to our students. This is the purpose we're doing this assignment, and this is how specifically we're going to do it. And that's going to keep us zooming in and zooming out appropriately to keep the big picture in mind, as we can so easily get lost just in the day-to-day right now. And that can really, for our students, be demotivating if they don't remember the why, that bigger picture. So hopefully you shared some things that about your goals right now, and then we'll go ahead and share that later on with everybody. So let's go to tip 3, facilitate engagement. This is probably the most challenging thing in a virtual setting. Like today, there's a lot of us on here and I can't even look at the chats right now. I can't communicate with you as much as I would like to let you know that I'm interested in you and what you need, and we can come back and do that. But that's hard, right? Especially when we're thinking about just translating from the in-person instruction to virtual. Doing that in a whole class in the size that we normally do in a virtual setting is really problematic. We're going to want to be talking about more small group instruction and what that looks like, because that's going to be easier to maintain that engagement in a virtual setting. It's really hard to see what everyone's doing when we've got a large group of participants in that virtual arena. So let's break this down a little bit. So those that deal with virtual instruction and training all the time, there's some best practices that are out there based on evidence. One of the ones is when, especially in this setting, we need to do even more checks for understanding than we do in the traditional classroom. So what does that look like? You know, if we're live with them, we can have them raise their hand. They can put it in chat. We can actually ask them to respond verbally. We can have them use emoticons, whatever that is, but we want to keep checking for understanding. Is this clear? Can you type in the chat what we just talked about, or what's the main point of this lesson? Whatever that is, we want to be doing more consistent checks for understanding in a virtual classroom than even what we do in a regular classroom. That next point is to solicit specific and regular interactions. So same idea, but one of the things that they talked about in the virtual arena is, especially when we're live, to not be afraid to call on students by name and have them interact. Sometimes that screen becomes this barrier where we talk and we let them receive. And so we want to make sure that we're working through that by requesting and soliciting that specific engagement often. Keep that regular check-in with the students. The next point under facilitate engagement is guided work breaks. This is one of the most challenging things about this as well. Is any of you have all of a sudden started to work from home, it's our structure goes away, right? We're very structured in a school setting. We're very structured at our work setting. We have meetings at certain times. A lot of those are now happening virtually, but what about recess or breaks? When does that happen? Sometimes we can get so mired that we don't take enough breaks, or we can't come back from a break, right? And so one of the things in talking with colleagues that work in this arena too, we were having this discussion about how important it is to keep as much of the schedule as students are used to as possible. So if you start with reading in the morning, then that's where we want our students to start, and then we go to math. But we can even do an online recesses. We've got some resources that we're going to share with you about ways to do these fun recesses in your classrooms, or just brain breaks for older students, where that we can share that virtually to build in those consistent breaks. Because if we show students how to do that and model that, you know, we're going to work from, because a lot of us, unless we have that outward structured, it's very hard to go internally create, what does my structure look like now? A lot of times when we get free reign, it's like, whoa, what do I do with this? So we can help provide that consistency and structure that will help maintain engagement. And breaks are part of that, but being consistent with that. We're going to do online recess. We're going to do a scavenger hunt. I want you to go find anything in your house that starts with the letter B or whatever that is, and bring it and show it on the camera. We can do Jeopardy. There's lots of games that we can do during recess that can be fun and engaging for students and keep some of that normalcy and that consistency in the schedule. It's going to be hard for us personally to get our schedule, but then we need to be really mindful about helping our students maintain as much of a schedule as possible and giving them guidelines to do that. The last one I want to talk about in this tip for facilitating engagement is using breakout rooms for small groups. Again, as I mentioned, it is harder for that engagement in a large group setting virtually than it is in the classroom. We know it's harder in the classroom too, but here, whole new ball game, right? So breakout sessions are a great way to manage those small groups and do that collaborative work. Zoom is a great platform for breakout sessions. It's super easy. You can set it up in the tools where it will, once you enable those breakout sessions, they're checked in your settings. It'll be at the bottom of your screen. Then you can, at some point during the main meeting, you can select, create those breakout rooms and select. It'll automatically actually put your students in groups for you based on how many breakout rooms you have. You can then move from room to room, alert them in a general chat that says we're going to come back to the main meeting, so you can still control that. I'm not going to show you any of that detail today, but we can help walk through that with you if you'd like, but it's super easy to do and important for one of the other things, again, back to motivation. Another really highly correlated dimension is collaboration. In fact, it's one of the higher ones, that students still need collaborative work. And so we don't want it to be teacher to student and that's it. We want our students still having the opportunity to collaborate together. So we need to, again, think outside of that box. How can I do that virtually? Breakout rooms is a great way to do that. What's nice about using pre-recorded instruction and software is that while my students some of my students are working on that, just like I'm rotating through centers, then I can be doing a Zoom meeting small group live with another set of my students. And then I'm able to take that data that are gathered from the other groups and then inform as I move through. That's still very possible. So you can have some students on the software, some watching that pre-recorded lesson. I'm going to show you a great platform to do that in just a minute. And then I'm working with a small group live as well, and then rotating through that. But that collaboration, letting them work together, and those breakout rooms on Zoom does that beautifully. They can chat and work together and then come back with you as the facilitator. Let's go to tip 4, ample praise. So this might seem a little bit like unrelated, and I can't tell you how incredibly related this is. The power of praise is so well documented in evidence for increased skills, productivity, all of that. I want you to think for a minute and then put in the chat as I talk about praise. I'm going to give you a great example of this. What ways are you offering praise to your teachers, to your students, to your parents right now? It's so critical if we want to get more engagement, continued work in this and pushing through, is to provide that praise. Another thing I'm just going to throw in there for you educators out there. The research is also very clear that self-compassion yields lasting behavior change, and self-criticism and punishment does not. So I want us to all just take a breath right now and just give ourselves a lot of grace for what you all and we've all done in the last 2 weeks. This time, self-care, self-compassion is going to be really important to fill our bucket so we can turn around and fill the bucket of our students. Everyone's feeling it, and I think it's important to keep that in mind. These things seem unrelated, but they could not be more related. So put in some of the ways that you're offering praise right now for your teachers, for yourself, for your parents, and for your students. So when we're talking about praise, I want to share something with you in case you all need something else to watch on Netflix right now, since that's what we're doing. And we know that Netflix stock is going up exponentially right now. One of the things that there's a show out on Netflix. It's called 100 Humans. And they're doing all these research studies based on questions that we have. There's episode 5, okay, so episode 5 on 100 humans. It's the pleasure and pain episode. They actually look at praise versus criticism and the results. That study is unreal. So they bring in kind of a party performer who can spin a plate on a stick, and he actually teaches, they pull these individuals and he teaches them how to do that. And they have some time to practice. Then he brings them in with 2 of the other facilitators to perform. And as they're performing, he just randomly picks, he's either going to offer them praise or criticism. And what was interesting is the ones he ended up pulling out the item to do criticism, they were ones that were like really good at it. And yet he just gave them criticism, nothing but criticism. Some that weren't very good, he ended up pulling the praise option and he gave them praise. So after he gave either praise or criticism, along with the 2 facilitators, they sent them out, let them practice for a while longer, brought them back in to perform again. It was unreal. Those that had criticism, their scores dropped by over 50%. Those that had praise, their scores based on their ability, their performance increased by 50% or more. It was uncanny that when we give praise, especially right now during this time, that's going to increase our students' ability, effort, response, their scores, all of that. We are going to see that. We want to be mindful to praise effort, not scores. So we're talking about that growth mindset. We don't want to just say, oh, you did great job, you got a 90%. It's, you know what, today, great job, you logged on. Well done. You got 2 of your 3 assignments done. That's a lot in this new situation. Great job. So praising often is going to yield great results right now for yourself, for your teachers, for your parents, and for your students. Going back to, as I was talking to my colleague about, making that phone call when you needed to, he said his favorite thing to do, and I would concur with this on students that I worked with. I taught at a lockdown facility, and how important that positive praise was for my students in that setting in particular, watching my own children respond to that. What's interesting is he said he loved to make a phone call and get the parent on the line too. And these are the students that really got criticism. And he would do good news, you know, just, hey, they're doing this great. This has been fantastic. So proud of them. To share that good news goes a long way as well, especially during this time. So remember, growth mindset, model it, model that right now. You know what? I'm really struggling today. I tried to get up this assignment and it didn't work very well, but that's okay because I like challenges because it's an opportunity for me to grow. Even if it doesn't go perfectly, I can try it again. Model it right now for our students. Let them see you working through the struggle and the challenges. We couldn't give them a better gift right now than letting them see through transparency how we work through this, and that everything is not just about presenting it perfectly. And then when they struggle and they're not perfect, then they believe something's wrong with them. So again, powerful praise. So those things, set clear expectations, drop that perceived difficulty, give lots of options, be willing to adapt, create consistent communication, all of those things from those expectations. When we're talking about, you know, keeping those goals and facilitating engagement and then going to ample praise, make sure that we're providing that as well. So let's go to our second objective. Let's dive in a little bit deeper now. Let's zoom in a little bit more to effective virtual reading instruction. I'm going to do two main guidelines, just keep it simpler today for our focus. One of the main things that we need to be mindful of, especially for virtual reading instruction, is maintaining our instructional design. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in depth. One of the things that's critical about what we do in particular, Reading Horizons, is structured literacy. So when we're talking about structured literacy, there's the inner elements in the circle, what we're teaching, and those outer principles. So how we're teaching that is as important, if not more important. One of the things that can get lost is how we're presenting that information. Again, that goes back to giving that variety. But here specifically for reading instruction, we want to maintain the instructional design. So what does your instructional design look like, right? Are we still being able to provide that explicit, systematic, cumulative instruction? Diagnostic, we're going to talk about that progress monitoring. That's going to be another key piece. So a really sound instructional design that Reading Horizons uses and any good instruction should use is that gradual release of responsibility, that I do, we do, you do approach. What happens in a virtual setting is it can feel more I do, you do. Go do your software. Go do this assignment. And that we do, it's why this instructional design was created. It was the thing that was left off for a long time. This we do is one of the most important parts of this. And so again, it's going back to those options of the breakout rooms, of collaboration, of how can we create that we do. And I'm going to model that for you as well. So maintaining that instructional design as much as possible is going to be important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually walk you through this instructional design, what it looks like traditionally, and how we're going to translate that into a virtual setting. So how we fit in that instructional design, Reading Horizons specifically uses what we call the daily core 4. We start with a review, then we go to that direct instruction, then we do the guided practice portion where we do dictation, which is a multi-sensory piece employing all those language, sensory inputs, and motor outputs, and then transfer. We want to transfer those skills. What does that look like that you do? The times are going to vary a little bit here. Transfer, we always extend and increase that transfer later on, but really doesn't have to take a long time, and that can be broken up in those variety of settings, whether that's live, pre-recorded, have them do some software for transfer. There's going to be lots of options. I'm going to show you what that looks like. So again, when we're talking about the I do portion, traditionally in the classroom, you know, we're doing that whole group instruction. We can do small group instruction. The nice thing about when you're looking at what you have in place, do you have software that supports that? Is it instructional? Is it adaptive? Is it prescriptive? Is it differentiated? Is it going to really not just be a babysitter right now while students are home, but maintain and extend your instruction? That's going to be an important thing. Make sure that that's what's happening. So again, in an online setting, we're going to probably do more small group from a live end. And then individualize from there. We'll talk about what that looks like. Again, I'm going to show you an example. For older students, especially in an approach like what we're doing, structured literacy, where we're focused on those foundational skills, it's more of an intervention approach for those skills that they're missing. And so they're going to be very unique to the individual. So we're doing more small group anyway, rather than a whole group instruction in those upper grades, and then the software again to provide that individualized instruction. Then we go into that we do portion of dictation. And I'm going to show you how we can even do this virtually. So we really want students, this is the other thing that can get lost is engagement in a multisensory. Now there's a lot of misconceptions about multisensory, and there's not a lot of science behind certain things like sandboxes and tapping, and there can be a concern of, oh my goodness, how do we carry that stuff over in a virtual setting? Really where the evidence lies in multisensory is with the language. So hearing it, saying it, writing it, reading it, all the aspects of language, particularly when we're talking about reading instruction, and that can absolutely still be done in a virtual setting. From that guided practice where we're employing all those sensory input and motor output, we want to go to the UDO, the transfer, and lots of options. So again, right now, be mindful. I'm going to show you the resources of how everything that we have in print we also have online that can be put up online and make that really easy. So when you're evaluating what you've got in place, as we went back to those expectations, you know, what we have in our classroom now, is it able to be repurposed in a virtual setting or not? What does that look like for us in the future? And that can help guide some decisions that we're making. For those older students too, we want those transfer experiences, but it should always be age appropriate, relevant to them. Again, it goes back to motivation. If it's not relevant to them, they're not going to engage with it. Okay, so what I want to show you now is how we can take this instructional design, what we normally do in the mainstream classroom or in the intervention, but in that traditional classroom setting, to a virtual setting. So I'm going to give you an example application. I'm not going to go through, there are so many options out there right now, and so many thankfully are offering them for free, which is fantastic. One of our teachers that uses Reading Horizons, I loved what she did, and I dived into this one because the user friendly part of it, fantastic. It literally, I didn't have to watch any tutorial videos. It took me like 30 minutes to create a lesson max. And that was with my first experience with it. Super easy. It's clean, it's straightforward, but it allows me a lot of options. You can record your audio so that students can hear it. You can record a video. I used another application called Loom, which is fantastic. I'll show you this in the lesson, where it's similar to Zoom, but it's more for pre-recorded. You can see yourself, have a bubble of you, put it anywhere on the screen so your students can see you and hear you. Again, that interaction is going to be important, but we still want to do that live, remember, for that consistent communication. So lots of options here. I'm just going to do this quick walkthrough of what this looks like to give you an idea. It's free right now. It's fantastic, super easy. I want to show you how I was able to take that instructional design and do it virtually. You're going to see that I'm going to click on audio that I've already pre-recorded, and I'll talk through that when we get done. So in here at classkick.com, you can just create a roster, put your students in, go to the upper right-hand side where you click on that button, that plus sign where you can create a new lesson. I created a daily core 4 lesson on the CK spelling rule. Once I created that with those core 4, then I can assign it to students. Here's what's so cool. When you assign it, it's going to create this code that then you copy and you can send your students in any platform that you're using at your school. They're going to plug that in. Then the student's going to enter that, put their name in, so it's going to give them their own assignments. So now you're going to see it from the student view. So this is their own assignment, I'm able to see their data specifically to them. So we start with a review, we did a game. Now watch this lesson instruction. I pre-recorded, drop that link in through Loom. This is the instruction on the CK spelling lesson. Go over a new lesson today called Spelling with C and K. You're going to learn a very cool spelling rule to know how to spell with C or K, since they both make the same sound. So let's look at this sentence. I'm not going to play all of that, but they would watch that lesson. It's really quick, a few minutes. Then they're going to go into that guided practice portion where I've already recorded dictation for them to engage with. We're going to do some dictation practice. I'm going to say a word 2 times, you say it back 2 times, and you write it once with the text box, and then you can go back and use the pen to mark and prove your word. The first word. Okay, so then they would write that, they can mark it on this, and then we're going to do transfer. Record yourself reading the words in the top row. Then fill out the next few words with either C or K according to the CK spelling rule you just learned. Once you do that, record yourself reading those words, and then record yourself reading the sentences at the bottom of the transfer card. Okay, so I went through those core 4. I would definitely extend the transfer. The nice thing about Reading Horizons is all of our text is on the software, so I can actually pull that up from a preview content tool. We could read the text together. I could have students read it individually. What's nice about the ClassKick application is they can actually click on the little mic next to the camera and record themselves, and then when I go in and look at their individual work, I can hear how they read that. So this is great when we're talking about maintaining checks on how they're doing within their instruction and responding, because that's going to be the next point that we're talking about. So ClassKick, totally free right now. I don't work for them. I'm not promoting them, but it was super simple. So going back to that perceived difficulty, super helpful as one option for you. And we're going to share more resources, suggestions based on our teachers that use Reading Horizons and what they've found to be effective as well. So the second guideline for effective virtual reading instruction is progress monitoring. That still needs to be regular and responsive, even in that virtual setting. So what are ways that we can provide that differentiated instruction? So again, the nice thing about like ClassKick that I just showed you is I can see that individual work. It'll actually score it for me. I can set it up so that it's scoring within there, super easy. But then I can see how the students are doing and respond to that, so that then when I'm with them, small group, live on Zoom or whatever platform I'm using, I can provide that differentiated instruction by how my students did in their actual application of that during the practice there, or maybe on the software, I'm pulling that data and able to drive that. So when you've got those three things, when you've got live, when you've got pre-recorded, when you've got software that are all doing the same thing, that's money, because then you're able to use those varieties to be able to come in and pull that together as well. So what additional practice and application opportunities can you provide? So again, it's about, I know right now it's kind of just get that to them, but what different practice opportunities can we create, and what supports do you have to do that? Extended transfer opportunities, more reading. Again, this is something where if we can send, text to them, have them read it, come back and talk about it. If you've got it online, that's another fantastic option. I'm not going to talk a lot about progress monitoring today. My colleague, Paul Black, that I mentioned, school psychologist, brilliant man, is actually doing a webinar tomorrow through Reading Horizons on progress monitoring virtually. His audience is targeted more to special ed, but it can be applicable for anybody. So if you're interested in that, let us know, and we can share that information for the webinar tomorrow. So now let's go into resources available from Reading Horizons. I want to talk a little bit about what we're offering now to support you during this time and our free offerings. So stay on for a little bit longer, because we're going to share some things with you that you can use right now to support what you're doing during this time. So Reading Horizons Accelerate, this is a teacher portal where we have all our resources to pull up digitally and use in any platform, whether that's in the traditional classroom or now in that virtual setting. So when you come into here, so right now, when you come into Accelerate, we have all of our lessons in PowerPoint decks. So that's great. That's what I used for my lesson instruction on ClassKick. I can go into the lesson that I am teaching that day, and my lessons are there digitally. I can see through that systematically in that sequence as well. I can select that specific lesson, and when I scroll down, it's going to follow that same instructional design: my review, my instruction, my dictation, and transfer. Then any of those materials I need for transfer, I can click right there, like the whole class transfer card that I used for that last transfer activity on ClassKick. I just screenshot it, dropped it in, super easy. I can drop in the link as well. All those resources are free and available right here on the resource section. Videos to help teach, all the downloads that you can pull up, you can send to students or pull up digitally for your virtual instruction. We have a community page to ask and answer questions based on what you need there. And then we have an online professional development course. Now this is purchased, but we have online training for teachers, 6 modules for the 6 chapters detailed in this instruction. So that's all available on Reading Horizons Accelerate. Now the software, we're going to talk about this offer. We are offering our software free to schools and districts, not just individual classrooms, but schools and districts till the end of the year, because we know how much you've got on your plate to try to recreate the wheel and get stuff to students. And so we want to provide this resource for you. I'm going to talk just briefly about each of them. I'm not going to spend time talking about them in depth here, because if you want to know more information, we can do that with you, with your district or school. But the software is diagnostic, it's adaptive, it's prescriptive, it's going to differentiate that instruction. You've got all that data to drive what you're doing in your small group or one-on-one. Super engaging for students. They're working in vocabulary and transferring those skills to connected decodable text. All of those features are online on the software. Reading Horizons Elevate is our software for students. So Reading Horizons Discovery is for K-3. Reading Horizons Elevate is for 4th through 12th grade. So again, about maturity of interface, relevant and appropriate to this age of student. Also the transfer material, relevant and age appropriate. Again, initial assessments that are diagnostic, adaptive, and prescriptive. So it's going to target specifically what they need to provide that individualized instruction and get them that information that they need in a variety of ways. They get to choose what activities they're going to do, and always making sure that they're transferring that as well. So the last resource I want to share is our website. So right now, our main page is focused on virtual literacy instruction and how we can help. And it's also across the banner. You can click on that banner, you can go in or get it from Learn More. And we've provided intro videos about how to get started with Reading Horizons if you haven't used us, if that's something that would be helpful. We're providing free webinars every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on getting started on the software. And every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, our implementation coaches are providing live lessons in the first 4 chapters every day that can be done live, or teachers can then use and send out to their students. So rather than teachers having to create the lessons, we're trying to take that off of your plate, and we're just offering that right now to be helpful. So let's wrap up, talk about next steps, and then we're going to talk about what we can share with you today. So let's go back to our objectives. So we're talking about the successful virtual classroom. What we can do now is review with your school the tools that you have to ensure that this can happen, that your virtual classroom now for your students is successful. What do you need to change, adapt now, moving forward, long term? One of the things that I think is important is when we take this, when the stress leaves, that we don't go, oh good, we can go back to normal. We need to take this opportunity of what we're learning and growing in now to have at the ready for what we need in the future. And it may change what we're doing going forward to be really powerful and to provide more opportunities for our students at this time. Second objective, ensure that as much as possible you maintain your instructional design and progress monitoring to have effective virtual reading instruction. We don't want to break out of that instructional design. It's so critical, especially for a structured literacy approach. Maintain that as much as possible, and with the virtual tools that just a couple that I've shared today and ones we'll share with you, it is more than possible to do that. And lastly, access those available resources and get help from us. If we can help, that's what we want to do. That was our purpose in providing this today, but also going forward, if we can be helpful at this time, we would love to do that. So those free offerings, just to let you know, again, to review the first one that I haven't talked about yet, is you can set up a free district consultation where we help you get set up virtually, just help get you going, look at what you're doing, how can we help, just anything that you're using, not even reading specific, and then dive into that more, zooming in, right, on that reading instruction. But then also we're offering our software for free, both Discovery and Elevate, again, at a school or district level. And you can access that. We're going to drop this in the chat box, and we'll share this after as well. You can go to this URL, and then that will connect you with these free resources. Last thing before we go, we want to put up another poll. We want to know what was valuable to you today. We want to keep providing support and resources. So Dave, if you're on, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so on that poll, we want to look at what was most valuable for you today. We won't necessarily share this with everybody, but we want to know so that we can provide more of this for you that would be helpful as you guys navigate this as well. So we're going to leave that up for just a minute and kind of see. I'm just watching it. Pretty fascinating to see what was valuable to you today. Good. Good, you guys. Thank you for being here at this time and engaging with us today. Hopefully there's things that you can take away right away to help make this more effective. Remember to be really compassionate with yourself. Lots of praise for you, for your students, for your parents during this time. That's going to go a long way. For me, that's one of my big takeaways. I hope you carry with you, and just thank you for what you're doing. We've just been in awe with all the educators that we work with what you've been able to turn around and do in a really short amount of time. And we're honored to partner with you to help you do that even more effectively and help you be supported so that, you know, you've got someone that's got your back so that you can be there for your students. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open it up. We'll leave that poll for just a second, but I'm going to go ahead and also open it up for questions. Erica is going to look through some of those questions, Dave as well, and maybe if there's anything pertinent that I can answer right now, I'm going to pull up my other screen here to look at some specific questions that I might be able to answer now. Again, if there's anything that's really like top of mind, you don't get an answer today, we're happy to do that at a later time. You can call us, email us, whatever that looks like. Okay, a question. How to get parent buy-in to help with the virtual classrooms? Most students need parent support. Agreed. The biggest thing still that we're finding is the hurdle is perceived difficulty. What is the parent skill set? How complex is this? And especially recognizing that there's a lot of parameters for parents. They're still trying to work, all of that. So we also want it to be user-friendly enough that hopefully students can navigate with it, with the reality that parents might not be able to be involved every day. And so the easier, the better. So getting very clear instructions for parents, getting them involved up front, keeping the end goal in mind. Like, we're trying to help your students, your child, be successful and not lose their learning, but we're going to need your help. So how can I support you in doing this? What do you need? Asking the parent, like, what do you need? That can be helpful. And the reality is sometimes we just can't be everything and provide everything to everyone that they need. All we can do is our best. But again, really what we're finding the biggest hurdle is that perceived difficulty. If what we're doing is overly complex, also providing empathy that we know the parents are dealing with a lot. How can we support you? And keeping the end goal in mind. You know, why are you doing this? Why is this important for you to make this a priority to help your child right now? When you're wondering if you're going to still have a job in 2 days, what does that look like, right? And that can be so overwhelming. So it's about helping them zoom in if they need to and zoom out, because there is so much power in helping them understand why they're doing that. And again, you can't make a parent engage. So drop the perceived difficulty as much as you can, provide that support, ask them what they need, be explicit and clear in your instructions, and help them understand that purpose and why you're doing this, and give them a lot of grace too. So I'm gonna wait for another questions. Is there any plans to make this available at the classroom level? I am not the person that has that answer, but I know the people who do. Part of it's logistics. You can imagine the amount that we have coming in, like nationally, which is awesome, and we're so happy to help, but it becomes problematic when we're doing it at the classroom level because all that setup is the same amount of work, just for a smaller number of students, if that makes sense. So if we can get it at a school or district level, then we can help more people. So if you're at a school level, talk to your administrator. Say, why don't we open this up for all of our students? Like, we can come in and help you do that. It's really just about capacity right now more than anything. It's not about us trying to be exclusive and saying, no, if you're just a teacher trying to get this done for your students, we're not going to help you. We will try to find a way if we need to, but it's just logistics really at this end. So if you can help get it out to your whole school, that's going to be better for us right now from management and reach more people. There's my answer, but I can get you more detailed answers. If that wasn't sufficient, you can message us and we'll get that. But from my understanding, that's why we've done it the way that we have so far. More coming in. Hold on. I'm having them use a different platform for me so I don't lose my screen. So they're having to kind of type it in. If you do not have an account with Reading Horizons, can I still access the resources at this time? Absolutely. So the resources that I showed you are available with 2 caveats on Reading Horizons Accelerate. To get the lesson manuals digitally, you have to have purchased the lesson manuals, just from a copywriting issue and a lot of reasons there. But you can look at it for a trial and kind of get a feel of it. But all the resource videos, all the downloads, that's all there regardless. For the software, we're offering that for free for now. We'll get you set up, get you an account created, and our website, totally free. Everything that we're offering out there, absolutely. So you don't have to have an account with us to access that. How do we use this with low income where parents and students do not have access to laptops, iPads, etc.? If I had that answer, we would be solving a lot of problems because this is an issue regardless of the program. I mean, that is where we go back to, do we print up resources and take them to the parent's house and give that to the students, hand them a book, hand them a few worksheets, a couple of games. I think sometimes we have to do that. That's not feasible all the time, but we know that happens. So being able to have a lesson with all the resources to print up, create a packet, take it to the student, to be able to also have that face-to-face interaction, 6 feet apart, right, is still powerful. And really, there's no easy answer for that. That is the hard part about this, is the equity in all of this, in the situation that we're in, and trying to meet that. I know that's overwhelming for you as schools to provide those resources for students. We can work on a phone, by the way. So even if they've got data, all of our software works on a phone. So that if they don't have a computer, that is an option. That's one way that we can help specifically. But then again, anything that might just have to be that direct, drop off that packet, drop off that book, as much as that's possible. Do you suggest the class do the diagnostic for the software, or should we just set students to the lessons we are ready to start on? If you've been teaching Reading Horizons, just put them where they're at in their instruction. Don't make them go back. So you can override all of that, set them to the lesson that you're on in your instruction. And we have customer success managers that are dedicated, whether you're a customer or not, we will help you. But they're dedicated to our customers in helping with implementation on every level. But right now, we are all hands on deck for you. So you can call in, we'll get you a customer success manager that will help you know how to get set up on the software. But if you are a current customer, of course, your customer success manager can help you override and get them to those lessons that you need. So start them where they're at so that they're not just starting back at square one. Okay. Lots of people want a special ed virtual classroom webinar. Noted. We will get together as a team and we can absolutely make that happen. How can I share this webinar? Good, Dave, the answer. In 24 hours, you will receive an email with resources as how to see this webinar again on demand. You will also receive a survey and your professional development certificate. So we'll get that to you soon. Okay, we'll take just a couple more questions. We're just about wrapped up for time. If you don't get your questions answered, we will look through those. There's a lot coming in. We'll try to address those. You can reach out to us after as well. Can you go back to the page where they can sign up for free resources? Absolutely. Nope. Yep. Ready? Nope. Hang on. Was it after this? I'm trying to remember. Sorry, friends, I'm trying to remember if it's after this. There it is. Okay, there it is. Okay, there's your free resources. There's the URL where you can go access those. I think we did drop it in the chat. There's a lot of messages in the chat. So you may want to take a picture of that with your phone, go to that URL. We will send that link to after, I'm assuming, Dave, yeah, send that link after with that. Okay, perfect. And we're sharing the results for just a minute on the poll. So general tips, awesome, good. Okay, so question, if there's anything out of those areas that were really helpful, would you like to know more about? You can put that in. I'd love to know, reading instruction was a little bit on the lower end. So if there's something that would be more helpful specific to reading instruction, let us know. We can rework that and provide something that would be more applicable to specific in reading instruction. It was just kind of a quick general overview today, but we could do more on that. So if there's something there too, drop that in the chat on any of those areas as well. And he said, yes, we'll share all of that. Okay. Well, thank you all for attending today. Thank you all for what you're doing out there. We hope that we can be of help in some way. Whatever that is, let us know. As we navigate this too, we're wanting to be responsive to your needs. More information like this is going to be coming. Remember, we're doing another webinar tomorrow on virtual progress monitoring, specifically to special ed. Those of you already talking about special ed, so that would be a good one for you to attend. So if you want that information, what is that detail, Dave? Can you just tell me really quick? I should know that top of my head. I think it's at the same time tomorrow, the exact same time tomorrow. Yes, so it's at the exact same time tomorrow. And if you want that, if they want that information, Dave, how could they get the details to log into that webinar tomorrow?
Yeah, we can send out, we'll send out an email about the webinar to everyone. So.
Okay. Great. All right. Thank you.
Okay, Chantel, thank you so much for this informative webinar. And thank all of you for your attendance. As previously mentioned, this has been recorded. It will be emailed to you. A PDF will be emailed to you. You can share it with all of your educator friends. And we're going to be doing more of these in the coming days and weeks. We got so many great topic ideas from you, so be watching for future webinars. And your professional development certificate for this time will be emailed to you tomorrow as part of a survey. If you have any other questions or need to reach out to us, you can email us at marketing@readinghorizons.com with any questions, and we can make sure we will connect you to the right person. So you are all amazing. Keep doing the work you're doing. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye.